Hey, good morning. Rich Tyson here. Hey, I wanted to share with you a little bit of something that happened to me in my career that was very pivotal many, many years ago. I came out of the Harvard Business School a long time ago, in 1977, and my first job was with Avery Label. You may have used some of their products. You might have even used some of the products that I was product manager for. I had responsibility for 8 Avery products, and as I on day one sat down with my boss, he said, let me explain to you kind of what your world is going to look like. He said, you have full responsibility for the success of those 8 products. We expect a profit out of them. We expect that your customers will be taken great care of, and you have 100% responsibility for those metrics of success. And I was okay with that. That's exactly what I wanted. But then he said something that stunned me. He said, Rich, you need to understand that while you have all of that responsibility, you have no authority. And I said, well, wait a minute. Help me understand what that means. And he said, well, you're going to need to engage with HR in the company as you work your department, your areas. You're going to need to work with R&D. You're going to need to work with engineering. You're going to need to work with accounting and finance, with manufacturing, with customer service, and you have no authority to tell any of those people what to do. And I thought about that a minute, and I said, well, wait a minute. How do I get anything done if I don't have authority to tell them what to do? And he said, well, therein lies your challenge. We need you to understand that you can't tell these people what to do. You need to work with them. You need to influence them to do the work you need. And oh, by the way, you're one of a number of product managers we have, and you're all in that same boat, and you're all going to be vying for their attention. So we encourage you to learn quickly how to work by influence and not authority. Well, I actually was quite perplexed with that. I thought, wow, so much of what I think I've learned at the Harvard Business School is that when you have a significant position of authority, that word again, you ought to be able to tell people what to do. So many of the case studies, as I recalled, were men or women who did that based on where they fit on the organization chart. So I was perplexed, but I decided, well, this is the world I've come to live in, and so I will figure this out. And so I moved forward, and it was interesting. After a while, and not too long, I found that this wasn't as hard as I thought it was. That as I worked with people, as I considered their situations and what they were up against, what their busy lives were dictating to them, and tried to work with them rather than force them to do the things I needed, that they began to do what I needed. And I started going to the top of the list relative to the other product managers. And I didn't think too much about this till one of my fellow product managers came to me and he says, hey, why are your projects always on the top with everybody? And I said, well, I haven't given it too much thought. I'm not sure I know, but I think it's because I treat them well. I think it's because I'm nice. And the response was, you got to be kidding me. That's what you're doing? And I said, I really don't have any other answer for you. I'm not trying to elbow you out or keep your projects from being on the top of the list. I just am working with people, and we seem to get along well, and things are going great. That proceeded over time. And then I had another fellow come in, kind of was inserted between me and the earlier man that I had started reporting to, who had told me I had 100% responsibility, no authority. And this new fellow told me, he said, look, I'm concerned that you're not using one of the top flight ad agencies in the United States for your ad work. And so I think you ought to do that. And I said, well, I'm willing to talk to them. But after I had reviewed with a number of these ad agencies, and they did some great proposals. Their work was going to be so extraordinarily expensive, literally tens of thousands, sometimes approaching hundreds of thousands of dollars to use their creativity and what they wanted to do. And so I chatted with the in-house art department, and I said, folks, I'm wondering if you couldn't prepare an ad for me that would be every bit as good as one of these national ad agencies. And they were flattered by that. They said, well, nobody's ever thought that before. And I said, well, I wonder, should we take a shot at it? And they said, well, we would love to do that. And I said, well, let me talk to my boss. Well, I went back to my boss and he said, absolutely not. You will pick one of the top national agencies. That's our expectation, and you will use them. And if you don't, you will probably putting your job on the line. And I thought about that a little bit, and I said, well, wait a minute. Now, this is just internal thinking on my part, but I said, I'm 100% responsible, but I have no authority. Does my boss have authority to tell me what to do on this? And so I came back to him and I said, you know, I don't like that. I think I want to try working with our in-house art department. And he said, well, if you do, and if they don't produce a national award-winning ad, you will lose your job. And again, I thought, I'm not sure that's going to pan out. I don't think he can do that. I really, the original boss, I thought, still has my back. So I went back to the in-house art department, though, and I said, here's the deal. I think we can produce a national award-winning ad, and I have to, because if I don't, I'll lose my job. And I said, but I believe in you people. I think you can do this. What do you think? Shall we go to work on it? And they were a bit stunned. They said, wow, you're willing to put your job on the line in order to have us do this for you? And I said, yeah, let's go to work on it. And I said, I know it's going to take extra work. It's going to pull you off of some other things, but if you'll put me at the top of the list and do this, and if we really go after this incredible ad, I was more concerned about pulling business than national award-winning ad, but I said, that's the standard. Let's win the award. And lo and behold, they produced this incredible ad, and it won a national award later that year. And so certainly kept my job, but I also had built a lot of stock, if you will, a lot of empathy and concern and support from the in-house art department. I was kind of their fair-haired boy, and I was able to do this over and over again with so many of the staff functions at Avery. So great experience there, wonderful company, but I moved on. But what I had learned was responsibility without authority is actually a great way to function. When I work for clients today as a business coach, I have 100% responsibility to help them, to make them, or at least to facilitate their success. I don't make them successful, but I facilitate their success. And I feel full responsibility to do just that. But I don't have any authority. I will be working today on 3 client projects, and each of those are very important to my clients. I will put together some things for them to review and suggestions for things they might consider. Much of that is the questions I think they ought to answer. That said, I can't force them to do anything with that material. They may choose to use it or not. Sometimes that's really painful for me because I think, boy, we've worked on something that it could be so valuable to you and you've chosen not to use it. And I feel bad that water doesn't get to the end of the row. Nevertheless, I have no authority, but I feel full responsibility. And by virtue of having that attitude, it has strengthened my career, my business in every way. Everything I do, I take on with that sense of full responsibility, but without the heavy-handedness of, you will do it. I have authority and I'm going to force the issue. And so I've brought that into my business. Now, I've also brought it in as an attitude to share with my clients. When you're the CEO, when you occupy that highest position on the organization chart, there's a natural tendency to want to exert that authority, to force the issue, to say, hey, because I'm the boss, you will do it this way. And you can do that. But I think it's a flawed model, because even when you have an employee, somebody who is beholden to you for their paycheck, they have the ultimate right to decide if they're going to do what needs to be done or not. And so if you can build in them a sense of full responsibility, that there is a shared cause in your organization, a higher purpose, and that you are willing to work very closely with them to help them accomplish that purpose, as you work with them rather than forcing them to work for you, I think you will find much greater output. I think probably 99% of the time we ought to opt for the idea that we have full responsibility but no authority. Maybe that 1% of the time you've got to call somebody in on a one-on-one basis and say, hey, you're just not cutting it, and we need to kind of bring down the hammer a little bit. You must do this. Kind of what my boss tried to do with me at Avery. You will do this or you're out of here. But I think that's the rare exception. I think more times than not, what we need to do is exercise positive influence around a great cause, around that sense of common responsibility, and allow that then to flow into an environment, a culture that allows us to join together in a great team effort without needing to force things through authority. So I would encourage you as leaders to consider this possibility. Many of you probably are just doing this naturally, and congratulations. I think that's wonderful. But you might want to look in the mirror occasionally and say, hey, am I exercising dominion here in a way that is creating stress with my people? Am I putting the hammer down when maybe with a little bit more effort to influence, to persuade, to bring about that sense of common cause, I could get much greater output, much greater contribution for my people without the need to force things? I encourage you to consider this today. If you haven't subscribed yet to CEO Builder channel, I would sure love it if you would. Obviously, I have no authority to force that, but I feel a responsibility to share some great ideas that I've learned over the years. And of course, we call this little segment Rich Talk. That's just based on my name, but I hope there's richness, there's value there for you. I also, if you see it differently, and you may on this particular topic of responsibility and authority, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to build some dialogue with those who follow what we're doing. Please do that as well. If you can take just a minute, give me a comment or two, that would be wonderful. If you feel good about this, recommend this to your friends. So I look forward to doing these videos each day, and I will continue to do so. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to sharing more in the future. Thanks so much. Bye now.